Having no expectations is so important because the more expectations you have, the more suffering you have. But when you have no expectations, there's no I, so there is no suffering. Throughout our lives, we will feel like we are being cheated, done dirty, betrayed. We feel like existence hates us, people hate us, that we're not getting our due merit. But you realize in this life that nothing you get can ever satisfy you or make you feel adequate enough. Because everything is finite in this universe and you are the infinite. So everything that appears is God appearing in his finite form, but we treat it like it's an infinite form. In a sense, we make one particular aspect of God's place so important and we focus our minds on it. And this causes us to make it a bigger deal than it is. In a sense, we are constantly in a drama in our own minds, constantly fighting an enemy, constantly trying to win, constantly trying to gain a one-up on existence. In a sense, we want to be a winner because we hate the feeling of losing. But when you realize that you're always losing, then you're always winning. But the problem is people want existence to match up to their version of winning, and this is where expectations come in. But expectations steals your joy away immediately because it makes you a slave to that expectation being met in reality. But reality will never meet your expectations. And even if it does, it'll only be for a moment and then you'll be dissatisfied again because they can't always meet your expectations because there isn't even a you. The people who you think are doing you wrong, sometimes they're doing you right. And the people who are doing you wrong, sometimes you think they'll be doing you right. So there's really no right or wrong answer in this Maya, in this universe. Oftentimes, we are very critical of existence. We expect it to be perfect when perfection doesn't even exist. When perfection in ourselves doesn't even exist. The only way to reach perfection is to go outside of ourselves. But so many people are caught up in the mind and hopes for the future, hopes for the past, hopes for that they'll do well, and hopes that what they did in the past never catches up to them. But the problem with that is that to assume that the outside world is important enough to affect how you feel inwardly is the biggest mistake. Because the outside world has no existence. As soon as you look at something, it's gone. As soon as you experience something, it's gone. So this want, this desire, all these hopes, they lead nowhere in the end. And they will always lead nowhere because where are we but nowhere? Bigger picture, we're a rock floating in space. Just a tiny rock floating in an infinite space. A void that just keeps expanding into nothing. So we're nowhere. This means nothing. This means it's all nonsense. The only reason God manifested this play is, I don't even have a desire to speak, but I still do it. That's how you know God isn't everything. Because I don't even want to be talking about this or do anything. But God commands. And the reason God commands and manifests is because it's fun. Why not? Why not do something? People might say, why do something? Why not? But when we create all these expectations, now it's like existence is not fun anymore. It's kind of like you're doing everything for a reason. Like you want something very badly. But in the end, it's nothing. So what do you really want? That's why I say Sri Ramana Maharshi says, the emperor is no match for a man with no want. Because as soon as you try to control reality, it controls you. In a sense, there's so many times where we just really want something to be our way so badly, and we start thinking about it, hyper-focusing on it. It's like a man who spends his time thinking about defeating an enemy, but he never took time to prepare for the enemy. So the problem with this is that no one will ever make you happy. And there's so many hidden expectations in our minds that we will find the perfect partner, that we will find the perfect situation. It'll never happen. It's impossible. Because perfect does not exist. Even the term satisfaction is just a made-up illusion. It's a term to describe a feeling. But how can a feeling satisfy you when feelings are temporary? If the word dissatisfaction exists, then satisfaction can't be true satisfaction. It is only temporary pleasure. So the false notion that one day when you retire and you'll have a happy life, it's nonsense. There's nothing in this world. So how can it make you happy? The only thing that can truly make you happy is nothing making you happy. Because whatever makes you happy, as soon as it takes that happiness away from you, it becomes pain. So it was never really happiness. It was pain in disguise. Everything is pain in disguise. Everything is pain in disguise. The phone you're using right now, it was probably made in some sweatshop factory by some kid suffering. The clothes you're wearing was probably made by some kid suffering, working for 50 cents an hour. Suffering is everywhere. Pain is everywhere. But it's like the more money we have, the more distractions we can kind of run away from that fact that pain and suffering is everywhere. But this is why Shakyamuni Buddha left his palace, because he wanted to be in the face of danger. He didn't want to run away from it. And this is what devotees of the Satguru do. They don't want to run away from the truth of life and hide themselves away with multiple pleasures, knowing deep down that something in them doesn't feel right. Like it's all a lie. So devotees of the Satguru, they face the truth. They might cry because of it. It might hurt very badly, but they take it as bitter medicine, because they know that in order to heal, they have to take bitter medicine. So it's tough hearing that nothing will last, that nobody will ever make you happy, that the concept of finding the one is bullshit and an illusion. The expectation that you will find a situation one day that will be completely perfect. Even if you find, let's say you find your dream house. Everybody wants to live by the beach. Now a tsunami comes. So existence doesn't care about like what you want to be perfect. It doesn't care. God does not care. God does what he wants. Krishna is the supreme controller. So we have to surrender to Krishna's will. And in order to remember to surrender to Krishna's will, as Sri Krishna says, one cannot reach me without worshiping my topmost devotee. So the devotee always has his mind on Krishna. Even when the guru complains, oh, this world is ridiculous. In his mind, in his being, he's thanking God for giving him such a ridiculous world, so he can always think about God. And the guru might not even like this. The guru might not even like wanting to surrender. Yet still he surrenders more than anybody else does. So it's not about wanting to surrender. It's surrendering despite the ego's desire to never want to. And you will cry, you will wail, but in the end you will realize it was all for nothing, because everything leads to nothing. So what is the point of expectations? What do they do for you? Expectations are a lack of trust in your creativity and a trust in existence, and also short-sightedness. Because often what disappointed you, it actually met your expectations, just not in the way that you wanted it to. But in the end, it actually did meet your expectations. Existence did serve you, but it didn't serve you in the way you wanted it to. And that's why you can't be satisfied. You have to open yourself to love. But love, in order to open yourself to love, you have to let go of expectations to be able to see what it is. You have to. And it's so tempting to give into the pain and the expectations, because the ego kind of loves being disappointed, and going through this game of being the victim and the victor. But nothing matters. You're nothing. You're not a winner. You're not a loser. You're not a gainer. You're nothing. And you will always be nothing. And even though the ego fears being nothing, deep down it knows how painful it is to be someone. So it's tempting to falsely claim to be something. But deep down one knows he has to surrender to being nothing. Because that's where everything goes in the end. No matter how much the ego tries to fight, there's just nothing.